Hey, and welcome to Matt and Jess TV. I am Matt
And
Roast.
I'm Jessica Bunbun.
This is our reaction and review for the Pitt Season 2, Episode 11. And just from the get go, I just want to throw a question out there to everyone. Is this season going the way in which you expected in terms of these big stories? Because here's kind of the thing, it feels like the tech shutdown isn't that big of an issue anymore. It feels like the water park incident. It's kind of last season we had Pit Fest and it was this big, huge, all
Yeah.
encompassing thing. I'm kind of surprised. It feels like they're not really just overshadowing these things, but it just feels like it's going in a different direction this time.
Yeah, it feels like they have these big things that are happening, but they're able to get a better handle on this thing has happened and now this, we've lost the computer systems, but okay, we've got a handle on that. Here's that next thing.
Yeah.
Okay, we got a handle on that. It's nice that they didn't just have another big event that's come up because we just saw that last season
Mhm.
where they are kind of like, here's a bunch of things that are piling.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. I've had my issues here or there with this season, but I feel like, especially this episode, they legitimately surprised me in a couple of different ways. They surprised me with the cliffhanger, they surprised me with the Santos and Langdon situation. I saw that going a lot of ways. I did not see it going that way, if I'm being honest.
I did not see it going that way either. I also was kind of expecting a little bit more from Langdon in that way
Mhm.
to just kind of also give a thank you for saving my life. Thanks for saving my job. Thanks for helping me get on the right track. It's one thing to be like, I'm really sorry that I
Mhm.
ruined your first day and I wasn't that nice to you, but that's not all she's owed. And you guys know I am not a Santos defender,
Yeah.
but she is owed more than this. Not exactly what she's saying,
Mhm.
but definitely more for her.
Well, and I think that's what makes this episode so interesting is good writing is supposed to make you feel differently about people.
Yes.
And I don't necessarily feel differently about Santos.
I
She's not
don't.
my favorite character, but I am looking at Langdon a little bit differently in this episode than I have for the better part of the season, where I have sort of thought of him as, oh, you've really put in the work, you've come back, you're doing your job, you're helping people. And I think some of that is true. But is all of that true? And I think that's a question I
Mhm.
didn't confront myself with before this episode at all.
Yeah, he's doing some of the work. For me, I was really waiting to see how he was going to handle Santos because that is somebody that he was very hard on,
Mhm.
and she's, like I said, owed two things. She is owed an apology, but she is also owed a thank you.
Okay, we are going to get more into Langdon because there is a lot to unpack there. But then also, what is happening with Robbie? We have an
Mhm.
interesting dynamic with Cassie in this episode, and of
Yeah,
course, a very big cliffhanger. Before we get into anything more here, be sure to hit that subscribe button because we are going to be here through the rest of the pit,
yeah.
breaking things down. You guys are already subscribed to HBO/HBO Max, so you don't want to miss our Euphoria coverage as well as the season 3. There's a big time jump. It is going to be completely off the wall, and I have no idea what that means with this show.
Yeah, we're really excited to be covering Euphoria. We also have From that is
Mhm.
coming up on MGM Plus, as well as the Testaments over on Hulu. It's going to be very busy here at the channel. So thank you so much for hitting that subscribe button, sticking with us, and hopefully enjoying our videos. And also, we are covering right now Monarch Legacy of Monsters, and you can check that out in our memberships. It is the only place that you're able to actually see it. It is exclusive for our members. A nice way to be like, thank you so much for helping us here at the channel. It really does help support us when you're joining our memberships.
Yeah, we're very, very grateful to that. So thank you guys so, so much.
Okay, let's just get back into this Langdon thing
Yeah.
because he made me very upset in the way that he handled this. It started out okay, where
Mhm.
he's just like, I know I need to talk to her. And he's like, I'm here. I'm taking some responsibility. I shouldn't have spoken to you that way. I shouldn't have given you such a hard time on your first day. I wasn't nice to you. And that was wrong. Yeah, that's right. That
Mhm.
is wrong. She's like, okay, yeah, that's true. But that's not enough. Like, you should have lost your job. You could have been in jail. I could have reported this to the board and you would have lost your license, gone to jail. Like, this is so much bigger than just like, hey, man, I really wasn't that nice to you the first day, right? But I think that if he had approached it with that, he owes her an apology,
Mhm.
but also approached it with, listen, if you hadn't said something, I would still be doing this and it's not okay. And you helped save me in that way. You helped me to be able to get the treatment that I needed. If it wasn't for you, my life wouldn't have been able to be turned around. He, kind of mentioned some of the consequences. Oh, my wife, she was going to leave me and whatever. And Santos like, it's consequences for
Yeah,
actions taken. She's not wrong. Oh
this
my
is
God, I can't believe I'm
I'm
saying
okay.
this. She's not wrong. But at the other side, where she's basically like, I want you to go around with a flag and tell everybody what you did, it's like, well, he has been doing that. He has been going and telling people. He told Louis specifically,
Yeah.
I did this to you. I took part of your medication that I was prescribing to you and I took it for myself. And I'm ashamed and I'm sorry that I did that to you. He is the first person that needed to be apologized to and admitted what he did. And he did that correctly. But he has told other people, there are other people that know what's going
Yeah.
on. Was he need to like stand up on a desk with a boombox and be like, this is what I did? Like
Apparently.
he is doing that already.
I think this is a weird situation because I don't want to defend Santos either, but I do feel like they're both right and they're both wrong in how they went about parts of this. Because Santos, she's right to be upset about the way in which Langdon approached her and talked about a lot of this. And she's also not wrong just thinking about it from this perspective of here we have Langdon, who is a very sociable, good looking, privileged white man in medicine who got, I don't want to say a pass because he definitely has paid his dues. He's worked his way back to the hospital. But I think in the back of Santos's mind, she's probably like, if you weren't this person, something way worse could have happened to you. And I'm frustrated because everybody else is welcoming you with open arms and they've all hated on me. There's a little bit of jealousy that I think is still going on there because everybody's really hard on Santos all the time and she didn't do any of these things. And I think she's very frustrated by what she believes is Langdon's privilege with that in mind. But part of that is Santos's own issue because Santos, she's responsible for her own behavior. And
Yes.
if she's mad at herself for not going and telling the board, you can't blame Langdon for that. Like, that's your own
No.
problem. You made that decision. You can be upset that he's back and you can be upset over the way in which he has apologized to you or whether or not he's done enough. But this other stuff, you're being really hypocritical. You're not looking at yourself in the mirror, right?
Yeah, I still stand with what Garcia said, where she was just like, you're not a pariah for this. It's because of the way that you talk to patients, that you've talked
Mm.
to other, doctors, that you're talking to nurses, that you're talking to your colleagues. It's the way that you're treating people is not okay. Langdon is not the reason that you're, talking to other people this way. So you have to look inside of why are you treating other people at your workspace this way. It's not Langdon, it's yourself. However,
Mhm.
if she really wanted Langdon to be facing big consequences, yeah, you should have gone. You should have gone to the board. You should have, sent him up in flames. If that's really what you wanted him fired,
Yeah.
revenge, all this, then that's what you should have done. But you didn't. And I think it's because deep down she knows that people do deserve a second chance, and that while she was hoping maybe she wouldn't be working with him anymore, that he would be able to get it together. My biggest question is, why couldn't he be just put on the night shift? Like, they don't have to work together. Why can't they be put on other shifts?
And that's the part of it I don't know. And I don't know if the show is going to try to figure that out, where it's a situation where does Langdon get to stay on the day shift because of seniority or because of what he's gone through? Does he have to start off on a different shift? Like the issue, or issue that Santos also seems to be having with this, oh, why aren't you standing up and waving the flag, is it's just she's making all of these weird assumptions, including that Langdon's just never gonna tell anyone else about this. Like we saw him with Dr. Rao, and he didn't really come clean about everything that he's gone through with her, but it's sort of you meet somebody for the first time. Are you
Yes.
gonna it's sort of like going on a first date and you
You
sit
feel-
down and you're just like,
I want to get married. I
yes,
want to have 10 kids. How about you? How about tomorrow? Nobody does that.
no, and it's not. Langdon might very well have come around and shared the details with every single person, but it's not necessarily something he wants to do right away. He wants to get through his first shift that, yeah, maybe should have been a different time, but he's also not in control of that.
It is the first day back.
Yeah.
Like Santos is making the assumption that he hasn't already been telling people what he did, and
Yeah.
he has been, and he should have told her that. He didn't even say anything
Yeah.
about that to be like, listen, I am actually doing that. I've already spoken to Louis.
Mhm.
I've spoken to, whoever that is already starting to be like, but listen, I've only been here like however many hours now. There's just not enough time for me to get to each person plus continue with all the patients.
Yeah.
But trust me, I am going to continue to do that work until everybody knows.
And this is the real irony in all of this, is Santos wanting this and wanting, I don't know, Langdon to have a sit down with every doctor when she knows how crazy this day is, because she
Yeah.
keeps trying to sit down and do her charting and she's never really able to. It's like, you already know the reason why, Santos. You're dealing with it yourself.
Yeah.
It's a very frustrating but very fascinating situation where I don't really know after this whole crisis if they're gonna come out of this season being on the same page. I mean, they might have to work together. Maybe that's good storytelling, or maybe they are gonna split them up.
Yeah, I just don't know how it ends up working unless maybe one of them asks to be put on another shift. I mean, people might not know to split them up. Maybe they're not able to. Who knows what it is at this point? They haven't dove into that part of the story yet. If that's an option to put them on separate shifts, to be like, okay, these two people are having an issue, they do need to be split, or these two people are having an issue, it's time to put them in some sort of mediation, just get it all out on the table of where we're going to be on this so that everybody can just work together. Because it, like Garcia said, it can't be that she's an R2 mouthing off to Langdon, who is her superior and is like just not learning anymore from him. That is not helping, is not conducive to this work environment at all. There has to be a solution.
And this whole season at this point really seems to be all about, how can these doctors make each other's work environment so miserable that they're all incapable of doing their jobs really, really well? Because this is where we turn over to the part of this episode that made me the most upset. Mohan, you can't, no, you can't leave because Robbie is still not being nice. It's just like, this situation is so unavoidable. I'm legitimately worried because Mohan, she's not one of the 5 most important characters. If the Pitt is going to move forward and kind of be like, this is an active hospital, we're going to lose doctors every season, Mohan is easily one they could lose, and they would lose her because Robbie has driven her away and he has to deal with the consequences of that.
Listen, this show lost Collins, who was like a main player first season. So if they can get rid of a main player, we could lose Mohan. And it does feel like Robbie is really kind of pushing her out the door. He's trying to push Langdon out the door. He's really pushing people away.
Yeah.
Not everybody, but, please don't go, Mohan.
No, I don't want her to go. I don't know if Robbie is going to be able to turn any of this around, because the only person he's acting even moderately normal to at this point is his motorcycle buddy. And I'm kind of worried that's all going to fall apart too, because it feels like Duke's issues here are a little bit bigger than they seemed at first.
Yeah, and it's the reason that we're going to have Robbie past his shift.
Yeah.
I was wondering how they were going to do that, but it's Duke.
Yeah, and I like that they did it that way. So it is different from last season.
Yes.
We have a different emotional sort of reasoning for that.
Yeah.
But now we jump from Robbie making someone upset to Mel making herself really upset and making herself possibly incapable of finishing this shift either.
Yeah, really like the way that they ended up handling this. She was really worried that someone was taking advantage of Becca, and Becca's like, nah, sorry, sis. I'm actually active with my boyfriend because I asked him to, and I want to be with him. We've been together like a little while now. I'm not going to be with fireworks to you tonight because I'm out with him and his parents. Like the parents are involved now. Like she's coming together in a more serious relationship now that the parents are involved.
Yeah.
And it's really putting a spotlight on Mel for herself to just be like, wow, I am not doing anything with my personal life. I've put a lot into my sister.
Mhm.
My sister is moved on and having a life,
Yeah.
and I'm not having any life. And here I am by myself, no life. And just it needed to happen so that Mel can put herself first. It's okay, Mel.
This is just the story that I feel like is going to be relatable to a lot of people out there, where you have
Yes.
this just revelation almost out of nowhere. It's like everything I have done with my life has been for this purpose or that purpose. And it seems like for Mel, a lot of it is Becca, where I work this really, really hard job, even if
Yep.
I'm not the most socially comfortable. And I do this because it helps out my sister. I put everything into my sister. I never think
Yeah.
about myself, what I want. And now she has to face this. It's this whole time her sister has been thinking for herself. She's never really been aware of it. I mean, yeah, I think it's okay for Mel to be upset and be like, why isn't Becca saying this? But I think Mel also has to ask herself, why didn't I ask more questions about
Mm-hmm.
this, instead of thinking of Becca maybe as a child, as an adult who's capable of her own decisions, who has
Yes.
her own life. So she's really facing off with two different things at the same time. And oh, by the way, we're going to continue to call you into all these other rooms where we're going to ask you to just not think about any of this and think about patience, Mel. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, I was really worried that they were going to be moving this in a direction where Becca was being taken advantage of. That was not the story that
Yeah.
I wanted to see play out. Mel was worried about that, and I was really happy with the way that it played out, that it was Becca's decision. She's really happy. Things are going really well for her. It was good.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that's very, very good, I think, about this episode overall, is that we can be mad about a lot of characters, and we have been for a
Hmm.
big chunk of the story, but I sort of do see throughout this where a lot of people are coming from with their actions. I mean, a great example of this too is Cassie, like a character
Hmm.
who I love, and I think she's so empathetic, and that makes her really, really interesting. Like,
Yeah.
if I'm Robbie, of course I'm gonna be mad that this doctor left the ER for 10 minutes, didn't tell anybody, just wasn't looking at her patients. Roxy dies while she's gone, but it's also like, but she was caring for somebody who wasn't gonna have any other sort of method or measure to be cared for.
She was caring for two people in that situation because she brought Ogilvy
Yeah,
with her to really show him another way, which I really, really liked. Because Cassie was the person who told Ogilvy, you cannot speak about patients that way,
yeah,
and you definitely can't speak about patients that way in front of them or within earshot. It's not okay. And they've later had a conversation where he's like, I have empathy. And she's like, okay, well, I'm going to show you another way to deal with patients, another way to care for patients, even if they're not in the hospital, to go about it another way. I think that this was really nice to see Cassie take him under her wing and show him another way instead of just telling him another way.
well, yeah, and this is the thing. There's been multiple points this season where I feel like a lot of us have wanted to give up on Ogilvy because he is so full of himself and condescending, and he
I'm
doesn't.
not on Ogilvy yet. I'm on Cassie. I'm glad she's doing it the way that she's doing it.
Yeah, and I just think Cassie is doing something that makes me have even more respect for her. Like, I can't sit here and say that all this is gonna work. Like, not to go too
No.
far down a rabbit hole, but I've known people like Ogilvy in my life who are very socially awkward, who
Same.
don't want to listen, who think that they have the answers to everything. And even when you show them things like, oh, you should do them this way, they then just default back to whatever is normal or
Right.
comfortable. I am hoping with Ogilvy that it's this combination of here's Cassie going out of her way to try to help him. And I think, however hard headed he is, he probably recognizes this is what she's trying to do. And then also, what's going on with this patient where he has some responsibility for what happened here. I
Yes.
mean, Mohan does as well. Mohan's looking at it, but
Right.
I think it's a patient. It's one of the few patients Ogilvy really did kind of sort of seem to care
Yeah.
for. Like, this is a real personal test for him.
Yeah, it feels like he could be hitting the curve in this episode where not only is this happening with this patient that he missed something, yeah, his responsibility also Mohan's, but then Cassie actually trying to show him a different way of doing things. It feels like he could be open to actually hearing.
This show is trying so hard to mess with my brain because 2 episodes ago, I was just like, okay, here's what's going to happen this season. Emma's going to be fine. Emma's going to go off, be the next Dana. All's going great. She's withstood some obstacles. Ogilvy's going to leave. Now I'm sort of like, Ogilvy may be able to turn this around. And I don't know if Emma's going to after this cliffhanger.
Yeah, I mean, she's been attacked by a patient. There's nobody around.
Yeah.
I mean, hopefully somebody's going to walk by. I assume somebody will.
I'm a little bit confused by part of this cliffhanger because it seems like this guy was acting very erratically on a golf course. He was brought in. They were told he just needs to be there a few hours, so a lot of this will get out of his system. There's something deeper going on. At least
Could
feels
be,
like to
yeah.
me that there has to be something deeper going on. But then as a result of that, the question then becomes, why was the doctor unable to detect some of this? Was it the state that he was in
Yeah,
when he
could be.
came in? But it feels like there might be something more to unravel there. But yeah, there's a big difference between dealing with everything Emma has and then
Mhm.
trying to recover from this. It's sort of like Dana. Dana got attacked in season 1.
Yes.
She came back, but it took her several weeks, and she had already been like deeply established in this hospital.
I like the way that they have connected that in that way. That last season you've got Dana who's been doing this forever, have that happen to her and she's like, "Man, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to come back." And she's come back and here's Emma. First day something like this is happening at the hospital. She's just thrown in the water, in the worst water. Okay, so let's talk about baby Jane for a second here
Mhm.
because this baby that was found at the beginning of this season still floating around the hospital waiting for someone. Okay, so let's put on our tinfoil
All
hats
right.
about Dr. Al. And so when baby Jane was first there and she saw the chart, she had quite a reaction about it. And I didn't really know what was going on. They haven't really circled back to it. In this episode, there was a young boy who was brought in from the heat exhaustion, had gone into a car and was at the hospital. The mother was handling it quite badly,
Yeah.
even though, Joy's like, oh, she's not handling her grief in the way that I would expect. Yeah, that's right. There is no one way that grief is handled. It's handled in all kinds of different ways. And Al even caught this mother's wandering into the street and all these things that are happening. And Al's reaction to this, as well as that, makes me think she lost a baby
Yeah,
or she lost a child.
I think there is a good chance of that, and that would also explain the phone call earlier this season.
Yes,
There's the little breadcrumbs they're trying to give us with Dr. Al, a character we know almost nothing about. I
right.
mean, speaking of things we know almost nothing about, I am officially frustrated to no end with this Baby Jane Doe story. This is episode 11. This has been going on for 10 episodes. It continues to feel like the carrot they're dangling over our heads. We'll get some sort of answer before the end of the finale.
Unless they just really wanted to take the time, I guess, to show us that the system is really broken. That when you are calling for people to come in and take baby Jane, take whoever to bring them into foster care and get them some sort of help, that it's a long time.
Yeah, and I think this season and this episode in particular, like it's showing you the consequences of real world actions. And I think that's one of the parts of it that makes it so unbelievably hard for all of us to watch, is
Yeah.
sitting back and thinking, oh, this stuff is happening. It's happening everywhere. And, I give the show a lot of credit. This is very,
Yep.
very difficult stuff. It's uncomfortable, but I think they
Yes.
are handling it as well as they can, and it's a lot more nuanced than an hour-long show is ever going to be able to portray.
Yes.
But that is where we are coming out of the Pit season
Mhm.
2, episode 11. What did you guys think about Langdon and Santos. Can they fix it? Is it all doomed? Share in the comments. Be sure to support us further at our memberships. Thank you so much. We
Thank
will
you.
see you here next time.